Alright, welcome back to the foggy swamp here, and right away we can just go into the hag and look at our first person view of our arms here, which is all the first person view usually is of the characters. And I've gone and set up two animations in Blender, just her attack and the animation where she puts the hacks on the ground. You can just take a look at them really quick. Maybe I'll speed that up a little bit or something, but it wasn't too important. The survivors in the story more is. And I've just set up a couple other assets like the swinging light, and I'll update it with like a candle in there or something like that. But I've been mainly working on just the swamp and all the grass and foliage and stuff, and just the placing of the trees and everything. So I'll just go and take a look at everything, how I've updated it. And just every little area basically got a touch up, and nothing is done with a procedural generation. It's all I've just placed each patch of grass and everything by hand, just so it looks good. And I'll put some decal in between these empty areas just to break them up as well. But let's go take a look at some things. Certain trees will get special treatment, like a lot of vines and stuff. You can see this bigger tree over here got the same thing as well. Just a lot of vines and detail will go into certain things. In the killer shack here, you can just see the editor cube like texture, and then you can see what I'll actually be using is these big planks of wood. We'll just go on over. Just take a nice look at everything really quick. Very familiar area. This would just be the door. I'll make that smaller and stuff, but this is roughly the size of the shack that I'll have. Just go over and take a nice look at things. We'll go over to the shack right now. I don't have the interior built, but just most of the exterior is done. It's not as big, but just kind of take a look in this. This I got a little lazy and just did some repetitive stuff, but you really can't tell from far away or anything like that. What did I just go into a tree? Holy shit. Alright. So in the game, maybe I'll display a picture of it, but in the actual Dead by Daylight game, they got these weird like root walls that are kind of weird to look at, and I didn't really understand it too much. So what I did for the walls is I kind of just made a very bushy foliage, kind of dead swampy looking things. And you just kind of take a look how I have this like playground area kind of set up for the survivors to run in, and they would just jump over this. This area would be lit up usually by a fiery barrel, and also with like a lantern maybe up in one of the pieces of wood as well. And I'll add like a couple more walls and stuff, but you get the general idea of what I'm going for here. I thought this looked a little more appropriate than those weird root walls. And as I go along, I'll just update things to look very, like I said, familiar, just what's appropriate for the map. Alright, so I finished up most of the map here, and in a minute we can take a walk around it. You can just see how I visually updated things. And I'll just show you some of the objects that I've made. Starting off here with the hag, you can just see how I've set up her first person arms here and her body is separate, and it just gives the illusion that the whole character model is there. I'll show you what I mean. You just take a look down and you can just see her beautiful toes and the rest of her model when she's walking and stuff or running or whatever. And one of the first objects here is this swinging lamps that I made. It's just a visual thing. There's just a couple of them throughout the map that I've set up. Starting off here, we can just go to the left. And usually in Dead by Daylight, this is a real tree and brush infested area, and I'm just going to have a little shack with a little pond over here. One of the other items that I kind of updated, I partially put this together in Blender and with some of the Quixel Bridge assets as well here. Just something very reminiscent of the map and the hook in the actual map. We can just take a walk up here to the killer shack. It'll be a little choppy because OBS is running, but it should play pretty good still. You just get a nice look how I've updated some of the foliage out here and stuff. Just a lot of stuff on the outside of the map has been built too. And it's just a real basic shack. Depending how much I want to dedicate to this, I'll put like a basement in there and stuff. Yeah, well, you're lucky I'm showing off the map, right? We'll go over here to this part that I previously showed you, and I'll just kind of give you an idea how I've updated it with some of the walls and, like I said, the fiery barrel and stuff. And I've just finished off most of this. I won't update it anymore, just maybe the other shack over there. Like I said, this is just a little area for the survivors to run around in. Little swinging light. And we can just go over to the other area on the other side here. And you can just see some areas will get like little fireflies and maybe some ambient dust and stuff. Just very specific areas. I don't want to overdo anything. And I've just a little bit updated some of these paths and like some of the textures on the ground as you go along some of the areas. Get a nice look at the hook here. And this little boat over here seems to be a very common layout to this to the Backwater swamp map. Same with this kind of area over here with the ramp up to this kind of wooden area. They usually got these swinging lamps and some of these barrels and stuff. That's just a test locker. That's why it's doing that. And you go down there, and under here is just like a kind of area to run around as a survivor and stuff. And next time I update the map, I'll just put in generators and all the survivors and stuff. That way I can show off some gameplay. And I'll lower some of the settings, and it'll run really smooth. It probably won't look as great, but it'll be cool just running around here and playing as the killer and some of the survivors, however I set up some of the logic.